Hello, and thank you for joining us on Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. I am Mark Otabo. This week, President Tinubu presides over maiden FEC meeting, warns ministers they risk sack if they don't perform. Also this week, President Tinubu seeks action against Coupists in Africa as soldiers strike in Gabon. And later on the show, designer of Nigeria's national flag, Taiwo Akinkunmi, dies at 87. All the details in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We begin with the first Federal Executive Council meeting of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. In attendance were Vice President Kashim Shettima, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yebieson, and the Chief of Staff to the President, President Femi Gbajabiamila. He urged the ministers to serve with integrity, dignity, and deliver, stressing that he will hold them to the high standards of the expectations of Nigerians. Now, joining me to discuss this is Justice Ujeno, political analyst, lawyer, and lead partner, Eco Solicitors and Advocates. Good to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure to join you tonight.
Thank you very much. And of course, we also have policy analyst and chairman Ondo State Information Technology Agency joining us via Zoom. Of course, he is none other but Mr. Olumbe Akinkugbe. Good to have you, Olumbe.
Always good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. All right, just so I'll begin with you very quickly. Now, the president is really stern about performance at this time. Now, for the first time, are we going to be seeing a benchmark with a time frame on how the ministers will carry out their duty?
He has actually made it very clear today, as clear as day, that they have 3 years, and if they don't perform within 3 years, that they should consider themselves out. And I think he also stipulated a shorter time period within which to do that. I feel that it is good that he mentions it to their ears as early as possible, because we don't want a situation where people, cabinet members who are redundant, are rewarded with another term, as we've seen in past governments. So it should be a thing that the president should do as early as possible. Reshuffling should always be on the table. Firing should also be on the table, so that once people see that, okay, they are not going to be rewarded when they are mediocre, they will be forced to sit up.
All right, let me quickly get on to my other guest. Olumbe, are you there? Quickly, now, this is the first time we are seeing more ministers compared to what we used to have. So obviously, we are looking at a bloated cabinet. So how effective would reducing the high cost of governance play out in this scenario?
Right. Well, yes, indeed, you're right. It is a higher number of ministers than we're normally used to. That's obviously because we needed to accommodate or the government rather needed to accommodate an all-inclusive type of approach to selecting the ministers. Also, some ministries were split because underscoring the importance and the agenda of this government, particularly you think about the Ministry of Youth, which was separated from the Ministry of Youth and Sports. So it tells you the kind of importance that some of those ministries have. Of particular note, again, is the marine transportation and the blue economy. So definitely there's been a lot of thought into creating this additional ministry. So rather than see it as bloated, I actually see it as taking time and attention to those areas that require development and concentration. In terms of bloated government, I mean, you can see the directive that came out from the president just last week with regards to the UN General Assembly, where it was a statement was sent out to all MDAs, obviously headed by their ministers, that anybody that did not have any direct activity as far as the UN General Assembly coming up in New York next week are concerned, should not be given the right to travel, which is a visa, and they will also not be accommodated in the itinerary. So these are clear steps that shows that despite the fact that we have an increase in numbers, it doesn't necessarily translate to bloated governance. And I think the UN GA directive has basically shown how the government intends to tackle the issue of government expenses with regards to ministries, departments, and agencies of government.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, Justice Ujeno, in developed countries, when you do not perform, office holders, they honorably resign. I mean, why is it difficult for our own people to honorably just resign from office when you're not performing? Should it get to the point of firing you when you don't perform?
It is the perks of office. The perks of office, they are so attached to it. Aside the fact that a lot of times their salaries are bloated, they also get revenues through some other means, sometimes correct, sometimes incorrect. So because of that, they almost do anything and everything in order to be able to get such offices and retain it, even when they are being shamed. Aside the fact they are not even performing, sometimes people tell them, sorry, pack your bags and go, you are not delivering on your deliverables, and they still feel that, okay, they have to die there. It's unfortunate that that's our approach. It's not just a Nigerian thing, it's an African thing. It's our approach to office holding, from the smallest office to the highest offices, and that's where you now see the spate of presidents wanting to amend the constitution in order to eternally hold such offices because of how juicy such offices are. Yeah. We are not overly minded to public service. We are minded to personal interest, and that's why, as much as we have laws in place to check some of these things, it is the institutions, it is the enforcement of such laws that will ensure that these people that are not even performing, or that people are saying go, they actually leave. And if they don't leave, the full process of the law should be initiated to evict them.
All right. Well, of course, we take a time out now, and Newsweek continues in a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Now, during the week, Gabon military seized power in the early morning of Wednesday, announcing that they had cancelled the elections, dissolved all state institutions, and closed the country's borders. In response, President Bola Tinubu said a comprehensive consensus against the spread of contagious autocracy across Africa is the next step forward with respect to how the power in Gabon will play out. A Nigerian leader noted that he is committed to working with other heads of state to defend democracy on the continent. Of course, still with me is Justice Ujeno and Olumbe Akinkugbe in the studio with me. Now, Justice Ujeno, very quickly, Equatorial Guinea President Nguema Mbasogo has been there for 43 years. Of course, the Republic of Congo President Sassou Nguesso, 38 years. We have Paul Biya of Cameroon, 40 years. What is that? Why is it that we are not addressing the civilian dictatorship? And we are always, always about the sanctions, about the coup. What about the civilian dictatorship that comes with these people wanting to hold on to power?
It's very unfortunate, and that's where we need actually the leadership of the AU, ECOWAS, or the corresponding bodies that are the bodies of the heads of government in Central Africa, Southern Africa, and every other organization to actually not be mediocre in this. We should speak truth to power. We should try to talk to these people that they are the ones actually sometimes inspiring some of the backlash, some of the reactions that are causing the coup. So if we talk to them, if we approach them, and as much as possible, Paul Biya, I don't know why, an Equatorial Guinea, and other people of their caliber, they should be approached by AU. They should be approached by the respective bodies that are regional and told that, hey, Mr. Man, follow what your people on ground are saying, and not people who are propping you in power because of their selfish interest. Follow what the people on the streets are saying. Honor elections. Honor the cause for you to transmit power, so that at least there will be peace and there will be good governance, because one of the hallmarks of democracy is regular change in government.
All right. Olumbe, quickly, do you think the AU should adopt the use of sanctions to actually checkmate this problem? Obviously, aren't there other ways to address this other than inflicting more hardship on the country and the people?
Well, unfortunately, you know that the ultimate unfortunate position would be as people were banding around. I think earlier on during when the Niger crisis started. I don't think so. I strongly believe that it's a carrot and a stick approach that should be taken because they do need to show a sense of seriousness in terms of the African Union and its members. So therefore, it must be a combination of both methods, which is diplomacy, which is of course we continue to speak, you continue to talk to them, and on the other hand, the sanctions to show that there's some level of seriousness. Unfortunately, the hardship coming from sanctions will affect the masses, which make up the larger population of the society. But unfortunately, in this case, or in these cases, it's rather unfortunate that that's going to be the situation. But those are the options that are on the table, and those are the options that I strongly believe, because I'm of the opinion that the worst democracy is better than any military government. I mean, I've been through, I've lived through both military and civilian governments, especially in Nigeria, and I can tell you that I mean the difference is absolutely clear. So we need to understand that these situations are unacceptable, as the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said, and we must continue to work with all concerned parties, to ensure that, and especially at a time where it's beginning to have a sort of snowball effect and a copycat kind of approach. I mean, there is a global economic slowdown. So, of course, things are hard, and things are perhaps harder in some countries, without necessarily blaming maybe the leadership of the countries. But the reality is, to answer your question, we do have no choice but to employ the carrot and stick approach, as I said earlier, which includes using sanctions as well as diplomatic interventions and discussion.
All right, Olube, very quickly now, in as much as we understand that we have to, approach this issue with, imposing the sanctions, are you sure we are not stylishly encouraging these African leaders in their attitude of holding on to power and meting out wickedness to the people? Obviously, these countries are blessed. They have resources, they have everything, but somehow they are not delivering, but they still want to hold on to power. Now, if we keep talking about sanctions, imposing these punishments, are we not stylishly encouraging them to continue to hold on to power, not doing what they're supposed to do?
I don't think so, because you see, in diplomacy, I'm not a diplomat, but to the best of my knowledge, what are the options that are available? It's either kinetic, which involves use of military. We saw how that, even the mere suggestion of that, you saw the uproar all over Africa, and especially in Nigeria, right? Now, you have the option also of diplomatic discussions. But the reality on ground, however, is that a lot of these guys, the military guys, do not actually believe or would take people seriously, which was shown in the Niger example, would take the other countries seriously if there was not some sort of sanction. Again, it's unfortunate that the masses will be the ones to bear the brunt of it, but something must be done, and it just cannot be mere talk, because unfortunately that has been, I mean, in the Niger example, that was the first recourse, was to send in a delegation to speak to them before they were even given the opportunity to have a meeting with the rulers, well, the current rulers of the country. It took them a while before they would listen to anyone. So in that situation, what exactly do you do? And of course, there must be some level of sensitization of the masses, because again, you see these things happen where, when there's a coup and you see the populace, jubilating, forgetting where they were before, before democracy, because they've forgotten, right, due to bad leadership and such things. But there must be a continuous sensitization of the masses. There must be a peer review mechanism amongst the leaders of African countries. Those are the things that I believe can actually help in tempering down this sit-tight mentality of a lot of the African rulers.
Thank you very much. Now, Justice Ujeno, you heard him. I mean, let's be frank. In as much as we understand that we have to do what we have to do to cut down on all this cool flying here and there, aren't we stylishly, encouraging these men to hold on to power when it's obviously they're not doing anything at all? Because the people, you see the jubilation when this coup take over. You can tell the people feel like, look, this shackle is off my neck. This man is finally off the throne. I mean, there's some sense of jubilation on the street just because of how they have been treated by the president who has held on to power for so long. I mean, how do we, tackle this?
Of course, one of the very things that will make the people very happy is because there's going to be a change in government. Because if a person is in government and doesn't seem to be challenged or has mastered the art of thwarting any further change, or mastered election manipulation, mastered intimidation of the legislature and the judiciary, then they just feel that nothing can remove them from the government. They have the African king mentality that nothing can shake them. So being mediocre is no longer an issue. So all that is left for them is to now be pleasing external factors, for example, colonial powers or the Western powers that can actually now challenge them because they have conquered the inside. So they'll just give the colonial people a pass to be able to exploit, and as long as they don't disturb them. So that's why, as much as possible, the unions, African Union and all, they should talk through to these powers to ensure that at least the shackle is removed from the necks of the populace.
Thank you so much. Now, of course, and finally for the week, the Nigerian who designed Nigeria's flag, of course, Pa Taiwo Akikumi OFR, has passed on. He died earlier in the week after a brief illness at 87. His demise was announced via a Facebook account by one of his children, Akinkumi. Now, President Bola Tinubu, in a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Aju Ngalele, condoled with Akinkumi's family following his passing into glory. According to the president, Akinkumi lived and worked for the greatness of the country. Of course, still with me is Justice Ujeno and Olumbe in the house. Now, Justice Ujeno, from your observations, do you think Pa Akinkumi was well celebrated enough before his passing?
I think so, even though he came late in the day. The first award he got, national award he got, was, I think, when he was age 80 in year 2014 by what if he died earlier? What if he had died at 79? What if he had died at 75? So I feel that he came late in the day, but eventually he came. It's better late than never, and it was really indeed befitting. He's a national treasure that I feel that even beyond his death, he should still be celebrated. Maybe in Ogun State, where he hailed from, there should be a form of maybe national honor for him. It doesn't have to be a full-blown holiday. National honor for him on a yearly basis, where they ensure that they perpetuate his name in history.
All right, Olumbe, very quickly, look at how long it took for him to be honored with the OFR, Order of the Federal Republic, by the Goodluck Jonathan presidency. Now, what do you think is responsible for the neglect of heroes who have etched their names into the history books?
It's first of all, I also must extend my condolences to the Akinkumi family. The father and the patriarch of the family was obviously left an indelible mark on the Nigerian landscape by designing the national flag, which is a sense of pride to all of us Nigerians. Now to your question, it's rather unfortunate that it took that long for Akikumi to be recognized. And as you rightly pointed out, this is something that is a regular occurrence, or has been a regular occurrence in Nigeria, where we have, as we call them, unsung heroes. Well, it's a lack of appreciation of our history. It's a lack of appreciation of sometimes even our culture. And it's a lack of also what we would call perhaps a national consciousness. The pride in our people, the pride in our heroes, the pride in people who have actually touched lives and actually done great exploits for the country. Now, thankfully, again, we're sustaining democracy because I think under the Jonathan government, a lot more of our unsung heroes were recognized. And I guess as we continue to sustain democracy, a lot of these things will begin to take shape. As you can remember, under the Buhari government, the late MK Abiola also was given highest national honor as well as being recognized. So in identifying where we have had our lapses in the past, where we didn't take that much cognizance of things, it was almost as if we were running away from things in our past. We thank God that history again is being taught in our secondary schools and is back in the curriculum. So perhaps those kind of things will help to bring our history and the people who have contributed to the history of this country to remain in the psyche of the citizenry and obviously the stakeholders that matter and are able to take these decisions. And I do hope that going forward with this new administration, they will be able to right some wrongs. And of course, one thing I also must is they also need to institutionalize things. So sometimes it seems as if we are doing these people a favor by recognizing them or by giving them the national honors or naming things after them years after they might have performed these exploits. So perhaps, I believe it's under the Office of the Secretary General of the Federation, which is like and the likes. These kind of things should be institutions such that whoever is there, whoever is the president, whoever is the minister, whoever is the SGF at the time, these are institutionalized and therefore it's on autopilot and it takes a life of its own without it being one person's decision.
All right, Justice Ojena, very quickly now, before we go, considering the fact that we're already losing our bright minds to foreign countries, now the ones that are back at home, the talents we have back at home, what motivation should they hold on to flourish?
As much as possible, the government should create a level playing field for them. Aside the fact that it's hard to tell a Nigerian to be patriotic, we see the way Israelis are to their flag and to their country. We see the way Americans are to their flag and to their country. First, we have to sell that Nigeria is worth being patriotic about. Nigeria is worth singing the praises of. And as much as possible, too, the government should not truncate whatever it is that Nigerians want to be proud of. I feel that a person that really did a lot in that regard is the lady in charge of diaspora in the last administration, Abike Dabiri. I think somebody of that stature and caliber should be brought back into place so that Nigerians will be proud of themselves and they will want to do everything in their power to benefit Nigeria. Not just the Nigerians, even locally, the ones abroad too. I know of a lot of people that are yearning to come back and do well by this country. So we should do everything we can to ensure that we encourage that.
All right, Olumbe, quickly, before I let you off the hook, in a few words, what concrete solution would you actually prefer to talents back at home, like for them to actually flourish, regardless of whatever is happening with how they've been, others have been treated?
Well, so that's a difficult one. However, one of the main melees we have in Nigeria as of today is the fact that we have a lot of people that are not only unemployable but underemployed. So we need to begin to look at how we can actually upskill not some. I mean, okay, a lot of our youths that are still behind in the country, right, and try and engage them perhaps with digital skills. Not only digital skills, looking at the agricultural value chain, those I think are the quick wins. It might not necessarily be something that is, sexy in the sense that you're not wearing a tie or you're not going to an office. But we need to seriously look at our agricultural value chain, which I'm happy that is also part of the renewed agenda of this new government, right, and also in terms of digital skills for the young graduates and those still in school.
Thank you. Thank you very much, of course. Thank you very much, Olumbe Akinkugbe, Policy Analyst and Chairman, Ondo State Information Technology Agency. And of course, Justice General, appreciate you for
it's always my pleasure
for your contributions. All right, that's our show for today. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG or on our website at tvcnews.tv. I am Mark Otabo. And until next week, goodbye now.